Welcome back to Cyber Technology. Today, we're diving into a crucial topic for all your future cybersecurity pros: authentication management. Sounds fancy, right? Well, it is, but don't worry, we're going to break it down, throw in some examples, and maybe even toss in a joke or two to keep things light. After all, even the most serious cybersecurity topics can be fun, right? Before we go all in, let's start with the basics. Authentication is like a bouncer at a club. Imagine trying to get into the hottest club in town. Let's call it Server 3000. The bouncer or authentication system at the door needs to make sure you're on the guest list before letting you in. If your name's not on the list, well, you're not getting in and there's no VIP treatment for you. In the world of cybersecurity, authentication is the process of verifying that someone or something is who they claim to be before granting access to a system. This is the first line of defense against unauthorized access. So, understanding how to manage and implement authentication properly is vital for any budding cybersecurity professional. There are several ways to authenticate a user, and each method has its strengths, weaknesses, and quirks, kind of like superheroes. Let's meet the team. 1. Something you know, which are passwords. The most common and classic method is the good old password. It's like a secret handshake. Only those who know the secret code or the password get access. But here's the catch. People are terrible at creating secure passwords. If your password is password 123, that's like telling the bouncer your secret code is open sesame. It's a little too easy to guess. Pro tip: encourage users to create strong, complex passwords and, if possible, use passphrases instead. Something like what you see on the screen is a lot harder to crack than password 123, right? 2. Something you have, which can be physical objects such as smart cards, USB tokens, or even your smartphone. These are the gadgets of authentication. For example, to access certain systems, you might need both a password and a smart card. This is called two-factor authentication, or 2FA. Like needing both a key and a PIN to access your safe. For example, many companies now use mobile apps that generate time-based one-time passwords, or TOTP, such as the Google Authenticator. You enter your regular password and then the app generates a unique code that you also need to enter. Without the app, which is something you have, you're not getting in. 3. Something you are, which are biometrics. Biometrics is the high-tech sci-fi method. Fingerprint scans, facial recognition, and even retina scans fall under this category. It's the something you are factor. Unless someone is going full spy mode and replicating your fingerprint, which by the way is a lot harder than movies make it seem, this method is pretty secure. For example, many smartphones now use fingerprint sensors or facial recognition to unlock. These biometrics are unique to you, making it difficult for anyone else to impersonate you. 4. Sometimes one line of defense isn't enough. That's where multi-factor authentication, or MFA, comes in. Think of it like layers of security, like your mom's lasagna. It's deliciously secure. Well, until you cut in with the serving spoon. MFA combines 2 or more authentication methods to make sure it's really you. For example, to log into your email, you might need to enter your password, then confirm a code sent to your phone, and finally maybe scan your fingerprint. It's a hassle, sure. But think of it as the bouncer, the security guard, and the nightclub manager all checking your ID one after the other. If someone gets through all that, they've earned their spot at the VIP table. Now that we know the types of authentication, let's talk about managing them effectively. As a cybersecurity expert, your job is to make sure that only the right people have access to the right resources. Sounds easy? Not so fast? One of the first steps in authentication management is setting up strong password policies. This means enforcing rules like minimum length, at least 8 characters, but more is better, complexity requirements, a mix of letters, numbers, and symbols, and regular password changes, though not too frequent. People tend to get lazy and make simpler passwords if forced to change them too often. This is your backup bouncer. If someone enters the wrong password too many times, the account gets locked, like getting kicked out of the club for being too rowdy. This protects against brute force attacks, where attackers try every possible password combination until they get in. For example, after 3 failed login attempts, the account is locked for 15 minutes. If someone's trying to break in, this slows them down significantly. Implementing multi-factor authentication, or MFA, is like adding extra security guards. It's one of the most effective ways to secure authentication. Even if someone manages to steal a password without the second or third factor, they are stuck outside. Pro tip: always encourage the use of MFA wherever possible. It's like having a secret handshake, a password, and a retinal scan all in one. The more layers, the better. Biometric security is great, but it's not perfect. Consider scenarios where someone might have dirty hands, wear gloves, or have a facial injury. You need backup authentication methods for these cases. Plus, always ensure that biometric data is securely stored and never exposed. After all, you can change a password, but you can't change your fingerprint. Lastly, good authentication management involves keeping an eye on who's logging in and from where. Suspicious activity, like multiple failed login attempts from unusual locations, should trigger alarms. It's like the bouncer noticing someone trying to sneak in through the back door or a window. Authentication management might not be the most glamorous part of cybersecurity, but it's absolutely essential. Remember, your job is to make sure that only the right people get into the club. Whether it's through strong passwords, MFA, or biometrics, every layer of authentication you manage is another layer of security. So next time you're locking down a system, think of yourself as the ultimate bouncer. No one's getting past you unless they've got the right credentials. Keep learning, keep securing. I'll see you in the next video where we'll continue our journey into the world of cybersecurity. Thank you for watching and subscribing. Bye for now.